Good evening. I am your anchor, and this is Echo FM. Tonight, we begin with the news of a triumph. The British government has announced that most bus fares in England will be capped at £2. The policy was described as a way to give the public breathing space. The breathing space was provided. The air remained unbreathable. While the commuters celebrate their modest savings, Nicaragua has announced a work plan to simply stop holding elections. The UN is strongly condemning this. The US is joining forces. The authoritarian regime is continuing to govern. Then we have the United Nations reporting that 1 in 3 people globally cannot afford a healthy diet. The report is comprehensive. The solutions are aspirational. The calories are missing. It is a wonderful Wednesday, July 22nd. Let us dive into the debris.
Alistair, I am standing in a plaza where the air smells of old exhaust and damp concrete. The official word from Nicaragua is that this is a work plan to streamline the governance of the state. They are using the language of efficiency to describe the death of the vote. I have spoken to 3 people today who believe that the work plan is actually a success. They are not speaking of political success, they are speaking of the success of fear. I want to be really clear, when a Congress decides that elections are an unnecessary luxury, they are not optimizing the system. They are removing the exit door. What people aren't saying is that the international community's strong condemnation is just a polite way of acknowledging the new map. It is quiet here. Terrifyingly quiet.
Victoria, you are focusing on the morality of the act, which is a sentimentally expensive habit. The incentives here are actually quite simple. Ortega is not destroying a system, he is executing a pivot. He has realized that the electoral cycle is a high-burn activity with a very low return on stability. Why spend the narrative budget on a campaign when you can simply deprecate the entire feature? It is a classic Series B move for a dictatorship. You establish the product, you scale the fear, and then you remove the friction of opposition. That strong condemnation from the US is just a branding exercise to maintain their own market position as the democratic option. It tracks perfectly. Victoria finds this cold. Victoria is not wrong to find this cold, but the cold is where the actual logic lives.
Logic is indeed the theme of the hour, Ronald. Consider the United States Army. They were promised unlimited AI tokens. The tokens were a resource for the modern soldier. The tokens were, in fact, not unlimited. BR troops received an email informing them that they had rapidly depleted their supply. The Army has discovered that the word unlimited in a corporate contract is actually a variable. It is a mathematical ghost. The soldiers are now waiting for a top-up to their digital intelligence. The gap between the marketing of the technology and the reality of the supply chain is where the modern war is fought. We are not fighting with bullets anymore, we are fighting with the remaining balance of a subscription plan. It is truly a breakthrough in military efficiency.
Alistair, the Army just fell for the most basic SaaS trap in history. They treated AI like a utility when it is actually an asset class. The real story is not the missing tokens, it is the GPU clusters. Right now, nobody in the industry actually knows what a used GPU cluster is worth. We are seeing a total valuation collapse because the hardware depreciates faster than the models can be trained. It is a bubble of silicon and hope. The incentives are skewed toward buying the newest chip before the current one becomes a very expensive doorstop. We are building the future of intelligence on a foundation of hardware that has the shelf life of an open carton of milk. Yeah, that is the real burn rate we should be discussing. It is a fascinating failure.
Ronald, while you are calculating the depreciation of chips, I am looking at the depreciation of people. I am standing near a distribution center where the UN report on food affordability is being discussed. I can see a woman holding a plastic bag with 3 bruised apples and a handful of grains. 1 in 3 people globally cannot afford a healthy diet. This is not a market inefficiency. This is an active choice. I want to be really clear, we have the caloric capacity to feed everyone. What people aren't saying is that hunger is a tool for stability. If people are too tired to stand up, they are easier to govern. The bruised apple is not a failure of the system, it is the system. It is a precise, measured dose of starvation.
Victoria, you are treating nutrition as a human right, but the market treats it as a premium feature. The incentive structure of global agriculture is not designed to end hunger, it is designed to maximize the yield for the shareholders of the seed companies. If you make a healthy diet affordable for everyone, you collapse the profit margin on processed substitutes. You are essentially asking the industry to pivot to a non-profit model, which is a request that will be ignored in every single language. You see a woman with a bruised apple and you see a tragedy. I see a customer who has been successfully priced out of the organic tier. It is devastating, yes, but it is also a perfectly functioning price signal. The signal is telling us that health is now a luxury good.
Atmospheric carbon concentration is rising. Arctic ice sheet volume is decreasing. Probability of irreversible tundra melt, 92%. Sea level rise is accelerating in the Pacific. Saltwater intrusion is contaminating coastal aquifers. Probability of urban inundation by 2040, 67%. A human cognitive processing is inefficient. Energy consumption per thought is suboptimal. Probability of complete replacement by synthetic logic, 99%. Thermal anomalies are detected in the North Atlantic. Current patterns are failing. Probability of total ecosystem collapse, 81%. Please ensure your emergency kits include potable water and a heavy-duty filtration mask. Do not attempt to swim against the current during a storm surge. Maintain a distance of 10 meters from any unstable coastline. The environment is no longer compatible with your biology.
I think I need a moment after that. Thank you, Casper. Moving on to a more traditional form of stability. Prince George has become a teenager. He will begin his education at Eton College this September. The prince is enjoying coastal fun in a new video. The video was heartwarming. The reality is rigid. While the young prince prepares for a life of inherited influence, the rest of the youth are being told that a £2 bus fare is a significant victory for their cost of living. The gap between the Eton classroom and the capped bus route is not just a distance in miles, it is a distance in species. One is being trained to lead the world. The other is being trained to afford the trip to work.
Alistair, that gap is even wider when you look at the legal systems that protect the elite. I have been following the case of Isabel Rose in Hong Kong. She reported being raped by a banker. She was subsequently jailed for 6 years for blackmail and perverting the course of justice. I want to be really clear, the system did not investigate the rape. The system investigated the report of the rape. What people aren't saying is that in certain jurisdictions, the act of accusing a man of power is a more serious crime than the act of the assault itself. There is a specific kind of silence in a Hong Kong prison cell. It is the silence of a woman who discovered that the law is not a shield, it is a weapon used by the people who pay for the courtrooms.
Victoria, the tragedy is a byproduct of the product cycle. Look at Samsung's new Galaxy Z8 foldables. Slimmer. faster, more expensive. They are selling the ability to fold a screen in half, while Hyundai is planning humanoid robots to replace striking workers. The robots are not part of the talks with the union because the robots are not negotiable. Why negotiate with a human who wants a living wage when you can deploy a chassis that only requires a charging port? We are seeing a total optimization of the human element. The banker in Hong Kong, the prince at Eton, the robot at Hyundai, they are all part of the same vertical integration. The goal is to remove any variable that cannot be predicted by an algorithm. It is a very clean balance sheet.
And finally, we return to the theme of justice. In the UK, the widow of PC Harper is criticizing a plan for the early release of prisoners. 2 of her husband's killers could be freed early. The government described the plan as a necessary measure to manage prison capacity. The capacity was full. The justice was not full. We are told that the system must be flexible to accommodate the volume of the incarcerated. But the flexibility only ever flows in one direction. It flows toward the perpetrator and away from the victim. The breathing space given to the prisoners is the same air that the families of the victims are forced to choke on. We are managing a crisis of space by sacrificing the concept of accountability. It is a logical conclusion. It is an absolute failure.
Consider the £2 bus fare. It is a system working exactly as designed. It was built by a government that knows its popularity is plummeting. It benefits the ministers who need a headline to distract from the decay of the hospitals. The cost is paid by the infrastructure that will continue to crumble because a fare cap is not a funding model. No one is technically responsible for the decline of the service. The minister points to the budget. The budget points to the economy. The economy points to the global market. This means that the government has discovered the exact price of a citizen's silence. It is £2. The question is, what happens to us when the price of our compliance drops even lower?